I've been here in Jacksonville many times as a translator. How many people have seen me? Oh. But there's some who doesn't know me, so I'm glad to meet all of you here. And you've heard the products. Do you use all the products?
Yes, I do.
Otherwise you wouldn't be here, right? Yeah. How do you like them?
The best.
I see the changes in people just using the products, right? And also tonight you learned how to make money. Now tonight, you're a millionaire.
Yes.
Imperial master.
Yes.
Right?
Amen.
That's our dream. However, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes, to some people, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, even 10 years. But it doesn't matter. What if it takes 10 years? If you make that money, and that's lifetime. Not only that, you can give to your kids for the next 3 generations. Have you heard any business that does that? I haven't. If you have, let me know, okay? However, my life have changed because of Atomy. And that's what I would like to share with you. Everybody here in this room, right now you're making your own stories, success stories. This is a process. And I am just one of many on the way of making my life successful. Actually, I am reaching up for my dream. Do you all have your dreams?
Yes.
Yeah? It doesn't sound very exciting.
Yes.
Do you have dreams?
Yes.
Oh, I can hear you there.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Like everybody else, I'm going to share with you my life story. If you know where I came from, and then I can share with you where I'm going, right? So, in 1970, I came to Canada, followed my parents. I was in high school. No English. And in Canada at the time, there weren't many Koreans. No churches. I was the only Asian students out of 1,700. Can you imagine that? No Japanese, no Chinese, no Indians, native Indians I mean. And I was the only one. And everybody looked at me as if I was a... When you look at a monkey, what do you do? Right? But they were very nice because they were curious about me. Who is she? She doesn't speak the language, but she's pretty good at math. No history, no geography, but math and science, I was at the top. Do you know why? Because our grades were higher in Korea. And they will play with the numbers, not ABC, 1, 2, 3. But it took 3 very hard years for me to learn the language. That was a survival. Had to do it because there was no ESL class at the time. They didn't know how to teach somebody like me English. So I was thrown into a class and I just had to follow. So what would I do? Just sit there like a dumb. No speaking, no hearing, 3 years. Can you imagine? It's very tough. But when you had to do it, you gotta do it. It's just like Atomy. If you do 3 years in Atomy, what will happen? You will make money, right? How many people actually are native Floridian here? There's a one. Wow. How many people came from another country? Oh. How many people didn't speak English when you come? There you go. See? You understand what I'm talking about, right? But those who spoke English probably does not know how hard it is when you do not understand the language. Sometimes I felt like I cried into the nights. I didn't want to go to school, but I was only 15. I had no choice. I couldn't quit school because it was illegal. I had to be 18. But we go through, that's part of life. We came through, now I'm so glad I learned the language. After 3 years in high school, I learned enough language. My dream was becoming a social worker. I wanted to help people. I grew up as a PK. Does anybody know what PK is? There's no pastors? Do you go to church?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a pastor at the church?
Yes.
Pastors have their kids?
Yes.
They call them PK. Pastor's kid.
Okay.
All right. Pastor's kids, they have a very different life than the kids who come to church. I don't know, maybe if you haven't seen them, maybe if you haven't experienced it, you may not know it. Pastor's kid, I had to live a double life. What that means, I had to be very good. I had to speak the very nice language. I cannot swear. Very restricted. And I had to dress nicely. No shorts. But inside, what's going through in my inside? Burning. I want to do what he does, what she does. I want to go to a movie. I wanted to do a lot of things, but there's so many eyes watching me. And then what my parents say? No, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't eat that. You cannot go there. That was a kind of life. But there was a very good training in the end. It was like a hypocrite, right? I felt like a hypocrite when I was growing up. I didn't feel so good inside, but I looked like I was a very good girl to others. So, I became a nurse. Was in school. Then one of the things I never wanted to do was marry a pastor. I didn't want to marry a doctor either. When I was working at the hospital, do you know what I do as a nurse? I could call the doctor out of his bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I said, I will never marry a doctor. I will never marry a pastor because I wanted to have a free life. And so one of my prayers was, God, I'm going to be a very good lay person in serving you. I'll be a Sunday school teacher, that's fine. And I work in the kitchen, but not a pastor's wife. Is this why we are here in America? American dream? But before the American dream, I had a dream of traveling all over Europe. And as a nurse, I had a friend. We planned everything. We were going to go to England, work there for 5 years. We're going to do all the touring of the Europe. We can do that, right? my grandfather got sick in Korea. And he said, I need to see you. He raised us, because my parents were in Germany. So I said, okay. I had to go back to Korea. But problem was, going back was fine. If I were to go there, I had a kind of an inkling idea that I may not come back. Because he told my parents, I'm going to have her marry and have her live with me. Out of 17 grandkids, I don't know why he picked me to live with him. Because he raised me. Anytime grandparents spend time with certain grandkids, when you spend time with your parents, you get close. What about your friends? The most time you spend with, you want to spend time with, right? My grandfather, so. Anyhow, I had to go pay the due respect. But in the meantime, there was a man in Korea who was my Sunday school teacher, whom I knew since I was 6 years old. Because my father was a pastor, when we went to that village, his family came to the church. He was my Sunday school teacher. I was in grade school, he was in high school. But when I came to Canada, guess what? He wrote me a letter as a Sunday school teacher for 7 years. And then he asked me to marry him. I hadn't seen him for 13 years. Can you imagine that? I said, no. Why? He went to seminary. He became a chaplain in the military. And I said, you're a pastor? No. Anyhow, when I went to Korea, guess who was at the airport?
He's handsome.
Oh, yes. But handsome didn't. Anyhow, I was in Korea, went to visit my grandfather. My grandfather said, I hear that there's a young man. Bring him. So I had to take him there. And he said, right there in front of him, young man, if you don't marry her, I'm going to find her another young man, have her married here, and I'm going to live with her. That was a pressure, wasn't it? And I said to my grandfather, I got to go back to Canada. I cannot live here. So he said, if you marry him, you can take him to Canada.
So did you? Yeah.
Did I? Did I? I didn't become a pastor's wife. It was destination. I was destined to marry a pastor's wife because when my mother got married, who wanted to marry somebody who believed in Jesus? Because she was persecuted because she believed in Christ. She went to church. Her dream was marrying somebody who goes to church, so she'll have the freedom to believe.
Cool.
And my father was in seminary, and she never saw him before she got married to him. She only married him because she was a pastor. Now here, I wanted to get away from it. Why? In 1960s and 70s, Korea was right after the war, very poor, and I think those days we only had 1 meal a day. But that's not the problem. The problem was My parents were out there looking after other people, and I had to look after my two brothers and sister. I had to feed them. I had to look after them. My parents left home 8 o'clock in the morning. Actually, 4:30, they go to church and disappear and come back late at night. So I did not want to have that kind of life. I wanted to have a family life that I can spend time with my kids. And guess what? I was duplicating their life. I'm doing the same thing. I had two kids. I was out working with my husband, was in the church. They go to school, they come home. Are you home? I'm home. How do you make a baked potato, Mom? All right, you wash a potato. My son was a grade 1. You wash a potato, poke it with a fork, put it in the microwave for 5 minutes. It's done. I raised them that way. But God knew what was in the hearts in our hearts. He took care of them. So you know what they say? Mom, my daughter says, Mom, I'll never marry a pastor. But last October, she married a pastor's son. What my husband had in his heart was a desire to serve the Lord. Nothing wrong with that. But he didn't have any clue about money, about taking care of families. All his hours from 4:30 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night at the church. That's not good. But that's how God made it. Amen. And here God puts me, business before me. I was a nurse I was working 12 hours every day. It was pretty good money, good benefits, good insurance, dental. Took care of the family, because my husband, immigrant churches, there isn't much money. So I worked very hard. Just like all of us, we work very hard, right? Yes. What do we want at the end of the day? Good retirement, right? Something that will give us back some kind of reward after working 60 some hours every day. But it didn't happen that way. Are you happy with your life right now?
No.
No?
Also.
Kind of. There is always a need of more.
Now, what makes you happy? It says you can make $50,000 a month. Do you make $50,000 a month right now? That's why you're here, right? You will make that money. That's no problem. If you stick with it, marketing plan is there, products that you have to use every day until you die. You will make it. But from here to making that 5, 7, 10 years, you've got to have a dream big enough that you will not quit. That's the vision. How did I do it? Because after working 12 hours at the hospital every day, 20 years, my back gave out. I had to lift 200 pounds, 300 pounds patients who were dead weight. Look at me, I'm kind of tiny, aren't I? So I thought it would be much easier to do a coin laundry. Do you know what coin laundry is?
Yes.
No, you don't know? You never washed the laundry? You put quarters into the machine, you put the quarters into the machine, you put laundry in there, you wash it, take it out, put it in the dryer, fluff it up, and fold it, you go home.
Laundromat.
Yes, it's a laundromat. My brother was doing that business. We were doing a church. Somehow, he couldn't sell it when he was going back to Canada. I was in Florida. And one day before he went back, he came to me, sis, we cannot sell it. You have to take over. And what I was doing at the time was I was a counselor. Remember I said that I wanted to be a social worker?
Yep.
After my kids were grown up, after my husband finished his schooling, I went back to school in 1998. I went to a seminary, Bible college, became a Christian counselor. So I actually was working as a counselor for the abused children. I loved it. That was my dream. And here comes on a coal laundry, and I didn't have any choice because I took out a loan from my house, equity loan, bought the coal laundry for him. And my house was on the line. So I took over. But what is the business like? I have to pay the rent. Rent goes up every year. And 2008, do you know what happened in 2008? Market crashed. When market crashed, people were losing their jobs. People were leaving out of countries. In Florida, we have many, many Mexicans here who's picking berries. In Tampa area, in Lakeland, we have strawberries, blueberry farms. They were washing laundry 2-3 times a week. Now they were washing laundry once in 2 weeks. No dry cleaning. What happens to my income?
Went down.
And the people at the church were losing their homes left and right. So we lost our home. Of course, with that, with emotional stress and financial difficulties, everything crashed down. No home, no money, no health. 60 years of my life gone down the drain. In the meantime, my husband has been going to China mission. I was sending him. I was the money maker. Because he says he doesn't have any clue about money. He says God provide. He does, right? Through people, through circumstance. And when we were doing corn laundry, somehow God flourished. It made it flourish. I had one, had another corn laundry, had another corn laundry. They were just coming to me.
Wow.
I had 5. So I had a student from college run it.